What is the craziest experience you have had while sleeping? From insane hallucinations to nightmare death and exploding head syndrome, this iceberg has everything both informational and terrifying about the dream world. And if you actually have any crazy sleep stories, please leave them in the comments, as I would actually love to read them. And thank you guys so much for watching. Tier 1, the tip of the iceberg. Regular wake cycle. The regular wake cycle is something that most people's bodies experience on a day-to-day basis, and even if you don't, you've probably experienced it at some point in your life. It's pretty much a 24-hour cycle that controls when you feel tired and when you feel awake through using things like natural melatonin release and other hormones. Your body also uses things like sunlight and your body's internal clock to tell you when to go to sleep and when you should be awake. Obviously, things like your schedule and caffeine and melatonin supplements and stuff can change this, but the regular wake cycle, as you are as a natural human, is built in a 24-hour cycle like this. Casual dreaming is something that almost everyone experiences in their lifetime. Casual dreaming normally consists of fictional scenarios relating to your daily life or reliving things that you've already experienced. These casual dreams normally don't cause too much stress or emotion, and as they replicate normal everyday occurrences. They also go away pretty quickly. Most people don't really remember them or find them as anything special, and they can happen through pretty much any type or any stage of sleep. Melatonin supplements. As mentioned earlier, one of the many things your brain will use to regulate your sleep cycle is melatonin. However, there are ways you can get melatonin otherwise that will help you go to sleep if you can't sleep or if you're trying to go to sleep at an unnatural time, such as melatonin supplements. These supplements help people to relax and to start to feel tired, but most of the time they won't make you go to sleep on their own. They just help your body start that cycle of going to bed. People who do things like work night shifts or have irregular sleep schedules or things like insomnia sometimes need these supplements to sleep, as their bodies do not comply with the normal regular wake cycle. Next up, a little bit off topic, but I still like it. The Inception movie. The Inception movie brought a lot of real or currently fictional things into people's minds and kind of combined them into one very crazy idea. When it comes to dreaming in the human mind in general, this movie shows a lot of things that will make you think about the way you view dreams and the way you view your mind. In short, this movie introduced the ideas of infiltrating people's dreams and spying on them from the inside, or also having influence on them without them even knowing it, as well as even having multiple layers to dreaming, where you could wake up multiple times or fall asleep multiple times, having multiple layers to these dreams. If you haven't seen this movie, I have not either, but I've heard it's really good, and if you're interested in dreams and stuff like that, I would recommend it as it has pretty good reviews. NREM Sleep. NREM Sleep is one of the two basic stages of sleep. NREM Sleep is split into 3 stages, stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, which all have different timings and help do different things. First stage being help you go to sleep, second stage being a longer form that keeps you at a very deep sleep, and the third stage bringing you back closer to REM sleep. During NREM sleep, the brain's activity slows down, as well as breathing and heart rate. The body's temperature drops, muscles relax, other than sometimes twitching, and eye movements completely stop. The brain starts its own waste removal system of waste that builds up throughout the day, and some people experience dreams during this stage, but they're commonly not very vivid, emotional, or meaningful, and are not like normal dreams that you'd experience during REM sleep. On to tier 2 of the iceberg, a little deeper. REM sleep. REM sleep is the stage of sleep where elaborate, emotional, and even hallucinogenic dreams can take place. During this stage, your brain starts to become very active as you start to dream. Your eyes start to move very quickly back and forth behind your closed eyelids. Your muscles become temporarily paralyzed to prevent you from acting out your dreams. Breathing becomes a little faster and more irregular than in REM sleep. The same thing happens with your heart rate and body temperature. They start to become a little less predictable and moving with your dreams rather than just your sleep cycle. As mentioned before, once these changes take place is when people start to have much crazier and more memorable dreams than in REM sleep. Lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is the act of being able to recognize that you are in a dream without waking yourself up. If you can successfully recognize that you are in a dream without waking up, most people begin to be able to make decisions or even be able to control the whole dream with consciousness as if they were awake. Some people can even purposely wake themselves up when lucid dreaming when they feel like it. Some people can also purposely replicate this on a nightly or otherwise regular schedule by using mental tricks and devices that allow them to realize they're dreaming. And the control of these dreams, because your brain is completely making the entire world up that you're in, can range from basic decision making all the way up to very extreme, like being able to control gravity and the entire world around you. And being able to do that on a nightly basis can cause some pretty insane stuff. Nightmares. the enemy of peaceful sleep, and something that we've all probably experienced. While more common in kids, it happens to everybody on a common basis, but kids just have them a lot more. Nightmares can be caused by a long list of many things, but most of them include your body going through unusual or uncomfortable experiences, things like stress, anxiety, trauma, something that may have scared you throughout the day, something that may have unsettled you. Anything like that are common causes of regular nightmares. But things like substance abuse or misuse, as well as medications and sleep deprivation, can also cause nightmares, much more vivid, scary, and odd than the regular nightmares. Nightmares, like other dreams, can occur in both REM and NREM stages of sleep, but the REM stage nightmares are what get you. They can be a lot more vivid and realistic, and you can remember them in much stronger detail, as well as they may also have a much stronger emotional effect on you because of how realistic they seem. Sleep deprivation. Going for a long period of time without sleep, as well as sleeping at extremely irregular hours, can cause problems with your entire body, not just your mind. Sleep deprivation every once in a while will cause things like lack of focus and slow reaction speed, but it can be reset after going to sleep on a normal schedule. However, sleep deprivation can cause problems with returning to a normal sleep schedule. This is something that all of us have probably experienced at some point in time, whether you play video games or you have to work or you need to do homework. Most of us have experienced a little bit of sleep deprivation. However, once you start doing it and it starts becoming a normal thing in someone's life, it can cause much longer lasting mental effects such as anxiety or depression, and even health risks such as diabetes and obesity, and it can even cause problems with your immunity, as your body tends to do most of its immunity processes like fighting viruses while you're asleep. Sleep deprivation also stops your body from being able to repair itself, as that's also something your body does mostly while it's asleep. This being said, try and get the sleep you need as much as you can, because it will catch up to you one way or another. Afterlife dreams. Most people have experienced dying in a dream, but the normal reaction for dying in a dream is to wake up as soon as it happens. This happens because your brain doesn't really want to comprehend the idea of death. It doesn't know what happens or doesn't want to try and put your body through that stress. I mean, your brain is still trying to sleep. People who lucid dream often state that dying in a dream, whether on purpose or accident, is a way to wake yourself up. Not sure if I would play the game of dying on purpose to wake up though, because what if you're already awake? What if you're just hallucinating? Or what if you're just having an off day and you think you're sleeping and then you actually die? Anyways, there are people who experience the afterlife in their dreams after they die, or just as the dream in itself. They experience the afterlife, or at least what their image of the afterlife would be. Sometimes people experience this as a means of visiting or remembering a loved one who has passed, or dealing with something like a loss. Though it can also be caused by traumatic events such as in life, such as breakups, death of a loved one, another big change, or even a brush with death, something where you feel like you could have died, and your body wants to try and think of what would happen if you had. While this seems like it would be very distressing dreams, it's most of the time reported to actually be quite peaceful and calm. And while I've never had one of these dreams myself, and I can't speak from any experience, it's gotta be pretty jarring to die in a dream and move into the afterlife just to wake up a few hours later. Narcolepsy. While over-dramatized in most people's minds and like media as people randomly falling asleep with no control of their bodies at all, as that's how movies and TV shows normally put it, it isn't quite that extreme in normal cases. Narcolepsy is an inability of the body to regulate the sleep cycle. While this can cause the stereotypical sleep attack of falling asleep suddenly, it normally causes problems of staying awake during the day and problems of sleeping at night. Pretty much just your body cannot regulate that, and it makes it very hard for you to focus during the day because you haven't slept all night. It makes you very hard to sleep at night because you've been trying to sleep all day. At this time, there is no permanent cure for narcolepsy, and while there are medications and lifestyle changes that can help manage your sleep cycle, most medications lose effectiveness after long-term use and exposure, causing the patient to switch them until they run out or have to just deal with it, which is, I feel like there should be something done about that, but I'm not the person that can do anything about that. So I know a few people with narcolepsy, and most of them have actually pretty normal functioning lives. They can drive, they can work, all of that kind of stuff, but they do have problems sleeping at night and they do have problems staying awake during the day. But most of the time in normal narcolepsy cases, people are still at least mostly or somewhat functional and aren't just like constantly being a slave to sleep, even if they're not getting a sleep like the average person would. Sleep apnea, a common sleep disorder that causes breathing pauses and shallow breathing, and can be caused by many factors, and it's hard to diagnose, especially in single people or people that aren't around other people when they sleep, because they don't know, they can't hear themselves or see themselves sleeping. The most common way to fix mild sleep apnea is just to stay active and find a sleeping position that allows you to avoid breathing problems while asleep. In my case, I can't sleep on my back. I don't know if I have sleep apnea or not, but I feel like I have mild sleep apnea. So what I do is I sleep between the bed and the wall so I can't flip on my back. But things like that will fix mild sleep apnea. And while sleep apnea itself isn't fatal, it can cause a lot of health problems down the line relating to heart disease and things like strokes. People with sleep apnea are also more susceptible to car crashes and work-related accidents due to the lack of sleep and the lack of the quality of sleep. Because when you're struggling to breathe in your sleep and it's causing you to not be able to follow a normal sleep cycle, even if you can't acknowledge that, it can cause you to be very drowsy during the day and not have the focus that you need. Sleep apnea, like many other conditions listed so far, can drastically reduce the quality of sleep and can cause interruptions in a person's regular sleep or wake cycle in daily life, falling in a void dream. While the internet connects this type of dream to a lot of psychological connections, the most common reason for these types of dreams is also known as a hypnic jerk. Something that we all have probably experienced, that feeling when you're just about to fall asleep and then you feel like you're falling or something of that sort and you jerk awake. That feeling of falling as you start to fall asleep or as you are about to wake up is called a hypnic jerk. They're also known as sleep starts, and they are common and most of the time harmless unless you hit something or somebody, but these can be caused by stress, stimulants like caffeine or other medication, and other small factors in your sleep cycle like small bits of sleep deprivation. But these should be harmless, and other than a quick feeling of terror, you should be right back to sleep, and they shouldn't cause anything that should actually affect you. Though they are quite annoying and can, like I said, if you have a partner, can freak them out a little bit. Irregular wake cycle. Irregular wake cycle is something normally caused by something like narcolepsy, sleep deprivation, working on a off shift at work, or having way too many stimulants such as caffeine. These can also be caused by other outside factors or conditions. And while at first an irregular sleep cycle can just lead to daytime drowsiness and small loss of focus over the day, as I mentioned earlier, quality of sleep also goes down, and it can quickly develop into full-on insomnia. And in long-term periods over people's entire lives, or over the course of even just many years, can lead to health risks such as high blood pressure and other health problems like immunity, as mentioned earlier, because you're not getting enough sleep, and that's when your body does the functions that it needs to keep you alive and healthy. Static dreams. I had never heard about these before the Iceberg, but this kind of freaks me out a little bit. While this seems to be more like a nightmare to me, people with these static dreams report that they are similar to literal TV static, but it's normally accompanied by a feeling of being trapped within the static or causing just anxiety as you hear or see it. There is nothing more than that. There is just static, and I found so many stories on Reddit of people saying that they see these. I can't find much about why these dreams happen or what causes them, but from what I can tell, it does seem like it's more common in children, as most of the stories I'm seeing, people are saying when they were children they experienced them. Either way, the idea of being trapped in a land so simple yet unfamiliar sounds so scary, and it's just like this odd nightmarish hell that you would be trapped in every night. I can only hope that I do not have a dream like that, but if I do, I will report back. That's a terrifying concept to me. Insomnia, another sleep disorder that we've already talked about a few times. It leads to disruption of the normal sleeping and waking cycles of your natural and internal clock. Insomnia can lead to similar symptoms to sleep deprivation, except these symptoms normally are a little more mild but longer lasting than those of sleep deprivation, as insomnia is something that is happening for someone's entire life, especially if it is chronic. Mild insomnia that's not chronic can be caused by things like caffeine consumption or sleep deprivation itself, but chronic insomnia can cause a lot more health problems, and as we'll find out later in the Iceberg, can sometimes even be fatal. Shift worker disorder. Commonly seen in, shift workers. People who work overnight shifts or shifts that require being awake at odd or irregular times, or even just being alert, things where you could get called into work or woken up from your sleep in the middle of the night. These can cause people to develop signs of sleep deprivation, but they're a little longer lasting, kind of like insomnia, and also can cause other common symptoms seen with the lack of sleep. This can be dangerous, as a lot of these people with shift work positions are ones in things like warehouses and assembly lines and truck drivers, which means that someone being tired and less alert while moving heavy machinery or vehicles, as well as very heavy items, and working in an environment that may not be super safe. This is paired with weakness and lack of judgment, as well as difficulty concentrating concentrating can make for a very rough life inside and outside of work for those who work these taxing shifts, and can even be fatal for those people who just fall into the wrong situation a little too tired. Taking drugs in a dream. This can cause people to almost experience the feeling of taking drugs, even if they have never taken them, have no experience of what it would feel like to take them. Now, some people share that it just is what they think the drug would feel like when they take it in their dream, but some people who have no experience taking drugs and don't know what they do talk about them, and their experience is pretty close to what an actually taking the drug would be. It's similar to the afterlife dream mentioned earlier in the Iceberg. People can experience things purely on a basis of how they think about it. And if they don't know, their brain can make up things based on what they've heard about it and make it still a somewhat realistic experience. This can also lead to curiosity of drugs in the future, because now you're wondering, well, does it actually feel like that? Or does it not feel like that? Maybe it feels better. Maybe you had a bad experience in your dream, but it can cause people to actually get curious of experiencing drugs in real life. And it's just an odd concept to me that experiencing something through a dream, even though your own mind has never actually experienced it, is a wild concept in itself. And it's also very odd to me that your brain can make an experience up and it can cause you to crave that experience again, even if your brain knows it made it. Tier 3. Sleepwalking. Sleepwalking is something that we have all seen in movies, and we may even know someone who does it from time to time. For some reason, there is a stigma or idea around waking people that are sleepwalking. No, waking people up that are sleepwalking should not be dangerous in most cases. Just understand they may be a little disoriented or sometimes even frustrated when you wake them up. They should not act super aggressive or anything like in the movies. That does not mean that they're possessed. It just commonly means that their body's not paralyzing their muscles properly, so that they're acting out their dreams, or they're just trying to do everyday tasks as if they had just woken up. While the exact cause of sleepwalking isn't necessarily known, it normally has to do with hormones, medicines, and other factors that all affect your brain while your brain's trying to be asleep. The only thing that it can really do is cause a disruption to people's sleep and make them act out everyday tasks that they would normally do while they're awake, except for they are asleep. And as someone that lives with a sleepwalker, that's exactly what happens. I will hear stuff happening in the kitchen or stuff happening just all around my house, knowing that my girlfriend is asleep, and seeing that happen. But it's never anything crazy. It's just normal everyday tasks is what normal sleepwalking looks like. Now we'll get to further sleepwalking things later in the Iceberg, but regular sleepwalking isn't really dangerous and should not concern you. Recurring dreams. A recurring dream is one that repeats itself as a common occurrence, whether throughout your life for the long run or for the short run, or maybe caused by something, and maybe every time you do something it causes that dream. While these dreams can be pleasant and things you may have dreams about, maybe things that you've experienced or things that your brain just wants to relive while you're asleep, it can also be reoccurring dreams, and is commonly reoccurring dreams about negative things like PTSD, traumatic events, things that you don't want to remember, things that you wish you could forget, and other very strong lingering negative emotions that can cause dreams about very uncomfortable things. And it can continue to cause dreams about that till those emotions are resolved or understood. Now, like I said, these can be good or they can be caused by outside factors like brain chemicals and stuff like that, but most of the times they have to do with something that's going on in your life that is not resolved, and that's why you keep having it. A parasomnia. Now, I could make a video about parasomnias in itself, and I might actually at some point. These can be a range from anything that disrupts your sleep cycle, or stops your sleep cycle, or makes your sleep cycle a little bit uncomfortable. A lot of them, like night terrors, exploding head syndrome, we will talk about later, but the general term parasomnias can be used as wide from wetting the bed as an actual chronic thing that somebody does, or even recurrent sleep paralysis and not being able to fully fall into sleep, sleepwalking, anything like that. People also experience hallucinations while falling asleep, things that will cause them to wake up or not be able to get into sleep. See, things like the hypnic jerk, but they may hear a hallucination, they may hear something, or they may see something that's not actually there, rather than having that jerk of their body as something that's happening as their body's trying to put them to sleep. Either way, all of these are pretty disruptive and uncomfortable to your sleep cycle and can make getting sleep, especially good sleep, hard, a lot harder. And for those who experience these parasomnias regularly, it can even lead to similar symptoms to sleep deprivation. Prophetic dreams. These dreams are dreams that essentially predict the future. These can range from very small events that are likely to happen, things that you know will probably happen, all the way up to unexpected horrors or life-changing events that one could have never seen coming, yet they saw it in a dream before it happened. While there have been many attempts to disprove people who say they can see the future and stuff like that through their dreams. One story just blows my mind a little bit. And there are tons of stories, but this one really gets to me. There was a boxer, a very famous boxer in the 1940s named Sugar Ray Robinson. If you aren't familiar, which most of us aren't, he is a was a six-time world boxing champion. However, he was just getting ready for his next fight like normal, training up with his team, preparing for it, like scheduling it, all that kind of stuff, like figuring out everything that he'd need for this fight. And he had a dream, an insanely vivid dream, before a normally scheduled fight in 1947. He had a dream that he would kill his opponent that he was facing in his next fight. Now, I feel like it's common for fighters to have these dreams or have the dreams that they themselves may die. But this dream was so real and scary to him that he made several attempts to back out of the fight, but his team would not let him, the organization that organized the fight would not let him, and his opponent would not let him. But he just had so much fear of his dream becoming true that he was willing to pull out of the fight and not get paid because he was scared he was going to kill his opponent. But he was left with no other choice. He was going to that fight unless he wanted to lose his career. And as I said, he was a six-time world champion. He might not have lost his career, but he would not have gotten paid. Nobody would have been happy with him. It would have been very bad for his career. So he chose the fight. And in the 8th round, after knocking out his opponent with a left hook, his opponent never got back up. And his opponent later died from his injuries. And yes, this is a true story from 1947. Like I said, the fear of killing an opponent is something that probably a lot of fighters go through, especially professional ones where you're constantly just hitting people and seeing people get knocked out. You may have fear that those people may not wake back up because most fighters don't hate the opponents that they're fighting. It's just a sport. But I want to go to the fact that he tried to back out of the fight. Like he was so convinced it was going to happen. He tried to back out of the fight. And that to me is like the best example of a prophetic dream that I've seen. Like he knew what was going to happen. And it shows how much that dream meant to him and how devastating and true he really thought it was going to be and how devastating and true it actually turned out to be. Sleep talking. Sleep talking is kind of like sleepwalking. It isn't fully understood, but it's probably due to your muscles not being paralyzed. As I mentioned earlier, your muscles get paralyzed during REM sleep to keep you from acting out your dreams. And if your body's not doing a good job of that, it may cause you to walk or talk. It can happen for a number of reasons, though. Sleep talking can range anywhere from people speaking out their dreams to actually having full conversations with people that are awake that they don't remember. From personal experience, you can normally tell when someone is asleep if they're having a conversation with you, but sometimes people who are asleep and sleep talking do talk and respond as if they were completely fully awake, which I'll tell you is slightly frustrating because they don't remember it at all. They will not remember a single part of it. Sleep talking is generally just another harmless parasomnia, and it's just a thing that some people go through that interrupts their sleep a little bit. They may wake themselves up if they're talking too loud or wake somebody up around them, but it just seems to be something that happens from time to time to certain people and won't really cause anything. Things like sleepwalking, you could walk into something and get hurt, but sleep talking should not really affect your life, other than maybe a slight and mild disruption to your sleep cycle. Wet dreams. Well, the YouTube bot is gonna love this one. If you aren't already familiar with this one, then I will let you do deeper research on your own, but pretty much these dreams are dreams that cause arousal, and sometimes more than that. And this happens while people are completely asleep. Like I said, if you want more info, you're going to have to go do your own research, but these types of dreams can happen to anyone, but they're really common or significantly more common in teens, and especially teen males. It's not uncommon for hormones of puberty to make these a common occurrence and make things like that while you're going through these thoughts and having these thoughts for the first time in your life. You just know that, of course, that's going to make its way into your dreams. You know, just one more thing on the list of embarrassing shit that can happen to you while being a teenager. All right, now I want to point out I did not make this iceberg. As I mentioned at the beginning, someone on Reddit made it, and I actually took some of the shit out that's in it because it didn't make sense to me. But I thought this one was an interesting one to keep in because of what I took away from it. Dreams about Minecraft. While this one's pretty self-explanatory, I will add a little bit to it. Video games are a big part of people's lives, and ones as popular as Minecraft are seen everywhere in popular media. And it isn't too odd to me to see how someone who is doing something like this all day can start dreaming about it, especially if they enjoy it and they spend a lot of time doing it. Minecraft is a pretty easy thing for the brain to imagine too. I mean, think about the graphics quality compared to real life. It's just blocked, so it's a pretty low taxing thing for your brain to think of. But also, a lot of people look at video games as safe places to relax and hang out with friends. And so again, it isn't too crazy to me to see how one might dream of something, of a place or a time when they're just relaxing and with their friends. And if it's their happy, safe time, like why not think of that while you're asleep? That seems like maybe one of the best things to do. Somniphobia. This is a fear of sleep, but it's not just a fear of like loss of time. Maybe you don't want to waste time by being asleep or you don't want to go to sleep. It's not like that. This is a true, intense, terrifying fear to the people that have it, and it can really interrupt one's sleep cycle and the enjoyment that they get from sleep. This kind of paranoia around sleeping can be caused by PTSD, trauma, or even scary experiences while sleeping, such as sleep paralysis or recurrent and prolonged like night terrors or things like that. Being scared of the idea of sleep itself can be detrimental to your daily life. Somniphobia can cause difficulty concentrating and things like rapid heartbeat and nausea while trying to sleep. Luckily for most of us, somniphobia is fairly rare, and really extreme cases are even more rare, but the idea of being scared to sleep is almost terrifying in and of itself, because you're scared to do the thing that's repairing your body, yet it's also terrifying you. And so like you have to pick, do you want your mental health or your physical health? That's a terrible thing that I hate that people have to go through, but it exists, and that idea is terrifying. Freddy Krueger dreams. Again, didn't make this iceberg. I don't necessarily know what this one could mean. Now it could mean one of either two things, and since I didn't make it, I'm just gonna have to assume what this means. I see you could be having dreams about Freddy Krueger, but I found something else, as I've never seen the movies. Something that Freddy Krueger has the ability to do in the movies is enter into people's dreams and kill them in their dreams, causing death in real life. While this isn't too scary, because that obviously can't actually happen, or can it? I do think that it is worth considering that things happening in our dreams could mean something for our real lives when we wake up, or can cause real physical things to happen in our real life. While the idea of Freddy Krueger dreams isn't necessarily relevant to what we're talking about or anything like that, like again, the idea of having something happen in your dream or dreaming about something specifically could cause something to happen in your real life while you're asleep that you have no control of. And it's kind of the same thought that the Inception movie brought earlier in the Iceberg, which is the idea of being able to go into people's dreams, but with the added availability to alter their real life with their own dreams at your mercy. It's a terrifying idea, but luckily I don't think it can happen yet. Rett Syndrome. This is a very rare genetic disorder, and it impacts nearly every part of someone's life. And sleep is not the biggest one, but guys, this is a really sad like thing to look at. But as we're talking about sleep, this does affect sleep a lot for people who have it. The bigger things that it causes: loss of use of major body parts, loss of the ability to walk, and other major health issues. And it can also cause very strong sleep disturbances. Rett syndrome can cause things like night walking, night screaming, night terrors, which we'll get into later, sleepwalking, teeth grinding, and night laughing. All right, I mean, these poor kids are already going through a lot with all the other problems caused by Rett syndrome, but the idea of seeing someone outside of this context, like in this context, not their fault, can't do anything about it, and I wish they did not have to go through this. But outside of that, the idea of night laughing is absolutely terrifying. If I walked into my room, or if I go into my kid's room and they're night laughing in their sleep, I'm going to lose my shit. That is terrifying. But these parasomnias caused by Rett syndrome are just one on the long list that this syndrome causes for these kids, and which is what it's mostly common in kids. And it can, like I said, it can cause so many different things, and so many different like night terrors and night sleepwalking, all that kind of stuff can cause problems, can cause even more problems added to their daily lives. Mirror dreams. Looking into a mirror in a dream can cause tons of different things, probably depending on what mood you're in or what things you're thinking about when you go to bed, as well as the problems you may be facing in your life. People report seeing anything from horrific demons when they look in the mirror to slightly altered versions of themselves, and everything in between. Most of the time, your brain will just have a hard time recreating exactly what you look like, as normally you don't just look at yourself, which is why most people see a slightly altered version of themselves. But you can also see bad things. If you think something's wrong with yourself, or you have body dysmorphia or something like that, and you're like seeing an altered version of yourself that makes you feel even worse about it. You can also have things like being in a bad state of mind, or aren't feeling good about yourself, aren't feeling confident in yourself, that will cause you to see yourself as some horrific monster or something that you don't want to be. And that idea in itself is just kind of sad, that like that is a reflection of what you think you are, and not what you look like on the outside, but what you feel like on the inside, at least for some people. I'll also say from personal experience that looking into a mirror is a decent way to tell if you're dreaming, and can cause you to realize that you're in a dream, which, as we talked about earlier, can allow you to recognize that it's a dream, and you can start lucid dreaming. But normally, if you see your face melting a little bit, or you look really odd in a mirror, that's a good way to like tell that you're lucid dreaming. So if you ever see that, think about it. Maybe you're in a dream. Laughing gas, also known as nitrous oxide. It's mostly used on dental patients for things like wisdom teeth removal. And while it's unlikely to dream during this procedure like this where you are awake, it is technically possible. And when it happens, it can cause really odd and very vivid dreams. This becomes much different though when people are using nitrous oxide as a recreational drug, which I should not have to say this, but do not do that. It is not good for your brain. It can cause people who are using nitrous oxide as a recreational drug to have the stronger ability to lucid dream and to have very odd and vivid dreams that are sometimes absolutely terrifying. This isn't super surprising though, as things like drugs during your daily life normally impact sleep even if they're prescribed. So something like this gas being inhaled into your body would definitely cause dreams to be different as well. But if you're ever getting dental surgery or using it recreationally, which as I said, do not do, but if you're already doing it, you may be able to begin to lucid dream or have different, more intense dreams than you normally would. Again, do not use nitrous oxide recreationally. Shouldn't have to say it, but I'm gonna. Out-of-body experiences. This can happen in one of two ways. One much more common than the other. The more common way is that you can be dreaming out regular things, daily stuff, but you're viewing it from a third-person point of view. A lot of my friends that I talked to for this video, just getting information about stuff that I don't experience, such as this, they tell me that that's how they dream all the time. They dream as like a third-person point of view, and it may not even be about themselves. It may be about someone else, and they're dreaming as a third point of view from somebody else's, like watching somebody else's story almost. And it's not super uncommon for them to say that it's an odd experience, but that it's not like they're used to it at this point to see a story or dream from that point of view and not from their own point of view. Now, the second type of out-of-body experience is one where you are currently sleeping and you get the sensation that you are floating above or outside your sleep body that is currently sleeping. Like you can see yourself sleeping from outside your body. You may feel like you can see things moving around you or see that things are not as they would be when you fell asleep in your real life. And this can almost be a type of sleep paralysis, but almost weirder. Like you're seeing hallucinations around you, but not from your own point of view, almost like watching yourself in a horror movie. It's one where you're paralyzed not in your body, but outside your body, watching from above as your body is paralyzed. That is terrifying. Hope it doesn't happen to me, but I don't really dream that much anyways, so not too worried about it. But these types of out-of-body experiences can also cause small amounts, in most cases, of dissociation and different types of fear when people wake up, as they feel like they could have just watched themselves die or get hurt or something like that. MIT technology. We're going to get into a lot of technological stuff about dreams and like how weird stuff affects people, but MIT has somehow developed a way to inject dreams into you. No thank you. They can induce a state of lucid dreaming, but with targeted information. So they're trying to get you to think about something as you fall asleep, and then also cause you to lucid dream through devices that cause you to be able to tell that you're dreaming. This is information that they pick out purposely for you to dream about. And then they use a device that monitors your sleep patterns while also using a sleep journal, audio prompts that tell you that you're asleep, and all that type of stuff to help you lucid dream throughout a long period that helps you learn how to do that. They also have you think about certain things, and they have a way that they can control what is in your dreams in a sense, which is crazy. I mean, they're not going in your dreams, but they can kind of control what your dreams are, obviously as a voluntary thing. But what if one day it's not voluntary? That's another thing to think about. While this technology isn't done being developed, the idea of one day being able to dream about whatever you want, almost like picking a video on YouTube, is a pretty insane concept. It honestly would be kind of exciting if it got to that point. But again, there are bad uses for that, and I think that's something to be aware of with any type of technology. Sleep paralysis. Something that not everyone experiences in their lifetime, and I hope you at home haven't experienced, but it's not super uncommon to have at least once or twice. It is a terrifying experience where you wake up and your body is paralyzed, and you're also still partially dreaming or hallucinating. And these can cause very weird hallucinations in your waking vision in front of you that are most of the time quite alarming and can cause a great amount of anxiety and claustrophobia, almost like being stuck inside your own body. Now, while the internet says this isn't fully understood, my idea of it and what a lot of people are saying is that this happens when your body paralyzes itself to keep you from acting out your dreams in REM stage sleep, but then you wake up during that and you're not really supposed to be awake, so your body still has paralyzed muscles to stop you from acting out your dreams. However, some people have problems waking up with their body stuck in this state on like a regular basis, and as I said, it can be pretty scary for those who do. But unfortunately, your only two options in most cases are to go back to sleep or to try and slowly move your body body awake by moving things like your toes and your fingers and trying to like wiggle them to slowly wake your body up. Either way though, it's going to be a long process, and trying to go back to sleep while seeing terrifying things or trying to slowly calmly move yourself are both not easy. Night terrors. A parasomnia that has been referenced a few times in this iceberg already, and that some of us may have heard of. But a night terror is an experience that causes someone to partially wake up, and it induces a large amount of fear and panic into them. While night terrors can be caused like things like fever or medication, some people just have these as a part of their lives, and they live with these insanely realistic and horrifying nightmares that can happen even while they're partially awake. They're different than normal nightmares though. Like I said, people are partially awake when they're having these, but they're also still dreaming, like having nightmares, like horrific ones. This can cause a state of confusion, crying, kicking, thrashing, sleepwalking. And when this happens, they can be fighting things that aren't really there, or in some cases mistake people like friends at a sleepover or a spouse that they're sleeping with or a threat, something that they're dreaming about. Their person that they're next to may start to morph into the thing that they're dreaming about, and they can start seeing them as a threat and fighting them or being scared of them or running away from them, of a real person that's there that's not going to hurt them and isn't a threat, but just because they aren't fully awake and they're in this panic state, they don't know any better, and your instincts just kick in. I have met friends that have been at sleepovers with people that have night terrors, and they said it's normally a very like intense state of confusion while they're partially waking up, but that's having that on a nightly basis has got to be so much worse than any other type of dream. Anything like worse than sleep paralysis, worse than anything like that. That has got to be one of the craziest parasomnias and things that can happen to you while you're asleep. Deja vu in a dream. The experience of deja vu is already quite a bizarre feeling. To feel like you've done something, been somewhere, or even felt something, even though you haven't. The direct translation to English is already seen or already dreamed. But to feel this in a dream, like you've already dreamed it, but not as a reoccurring dream, is a whole nother level of weird to the experience. Dreams are a little different though, because you have things like reoccurring dreams and memories and things like that you will experience again in your dreams. And if you've had that dream before, maybe you don't realize that you're dreaming about something that you've had before. Maybe you had it as a child and it's been a long time. But you can also dream about something that you truly did do. You truly did already experience it. And maybe you experienced it as a child or as a young adult, or it's just been a while, or maybe it wasn't that long ago, but you just don't remember it. And there's a chance you could get a really strong sense of deja vu, like you think this is your first time, but it's just not. Like you've already actually done it. You actually have the sensory for what that should feel like if you have done it. But this can also not be the case. Truly getting deja vu from something that you've never dreamed about or never experienced in a dream is what deja vu in a dream is. You are literally convinced by your own brain that you have felt this memory, dream, or feeling before, but in reality, it's something that it's a feeling that your brain itself is creating. Deja vu in dreams does really happen, and it's just almost scary to see how much your brain can convince you of, even if your brain is the one making it up. Sandman. While tons of shows and movies and other references are made about Sandman and his journey started long before that. The Sandman is a traditional character put in a lot of children's books and stories that originates from Scandinavian folklore. Pretty much, the Sandman puts dust into your eyes, or sand, and mostly into the eyes of children at night to bring them sleep and dreams. Which, yes, while a little creepy, think of every other folktale or story like that and tell me that they aren't a little terrifying. The man coming down your chimney to leave you stuff. Stuff like that is, most of them are a little terrifying. Anyways, it is also said that the grit in your eyes when you first wake up is supposed to be the result of the Sandman's work from the previous night, leaving a bit of sand behind. And I think this is just a good culture using mythology to explain things that they don't understand, and also to explain things to kids when they don't understand them. So I like it. I like the Sandman. False awakening. One of the most terrifying concepts to me in this entire iceberg. What if you wake up tomorrow and you're just a kid again? All of this has been a dream. All the pain, the joy, the experiences, the good, the bad, everything, as well as your growth as a human being, was not real. While it's not ever common to have a false awakening that extreme, something that's years long or something like that, that you feel was real even when you woke up, it's common for people to experience things like starting their day or going to work or other small things that they would do in the morning or as part of their routine and then actually waking up. Now, this can get really confusing when you do wake up for real, because you may forget to do those things as you think you've already done them. Maybe you text somebody every morning, or maybe you forget to brush your teeth because you think you already did. Something like that. Maybe you think you already ate and you didn't. Now, that's the average experience, because things like getting trapped in a long one don't actually happen too often. But deeper than that average experience is the idea of being trapped in a dream or a set of dreams covered by false awakenings. And that is a very scary concept to me, to think that I could just wake up randomly in 10 minutes and I could still be 5. I could have had 15 years of just of dream, and none of it was real. That is a terrifying idea. The LSD Dream Journal, also known as Lovely Sweet Dream, was a journal of a Japanese writer named Hiroko Nishikawa. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. This journal was a vivid written and drawn representation of various nightmares and dreams. These nightmares even included things like sexual and violent references, as well as many other very odd things. Looking at the few pictures I found, these dreams were absolutely terrifying and so weird, I cannot imagine having dreams about this kind of stuff. I will show you one of the less terrible ones on screen, and this one is just very odd and not something I want to see in my head while I'm asleep. But this journal would later be the inspiration for a game known as LSD Dream Emulator, and that had very similar depictions and other things from this journal for the player to experience, all in part based off of the original writer's dream journal. Coma Sleep. While not everyone that is in a coma experiences dreams, some people do. The dream in a coma can be anything from hearing and feeling what is going on around you with no ability to respond to it, almost like sleep paralysis, to outer-worldly and hallucinogenic-like states that cause people to say that they saw things like the afterlife, the solar system, the universe, and other vivid, very strong, long-lasting dreams that can happen people can be in comas for days or weeks, and these dreams are going on for that amount of time. Now, the ability to experience a dream while in a coma is normally determined or correlated to what that person's underlying medical condition is and why they're in a coma in the first place. If they got hit in the head during a car crash, chances are they're probably not going to dream about anything. But if they were medically induced into a coma, they may actually dream about stuff, and they may actually have a decent amount of brain activity and be able to remember it once they come out of it. On to Tier 5. Dreams about the pyramid and ancient debris. This one is exactly what it sounds like. It's dreams where you can explore ancient ruins, whether they actually exist or are something that your brain made up for tonight's journey. They are both just a dream of curiosity and exploration, and these dreams aren't super common, but they can give an almost odd apocalyptic feeling to the person experiencing them. Melatonin Dreams. Melatonin, as we already talked about, is a common sleep supplement, and as mentioned earlier in the Iceberg, it's something that you probably already know about. However, there are adverse and unforeseen side effects for some people when taking melatonin, or when people take over the normal dose of melatonin. The main one is vivid dreams or nightmares. While the exact reason can't be proven, it is likely to do with the result of vasitocin. Probably didn't say that right. But vasitocin is a protein released by melatonin, or it regulates the amount of time that you spend in REM sleep. So because you are spending more time in REM sleep when taking melatonin supplements, you are just getting more vivid dreams and stuff, because REM sleep is the stage where you have dreams. So if you're spending more time in the sleep stage where you are having the most vivid dreams, you're obviously going to remember more and have more. But in that stage is also where very vivid and very odd nightmares take place. So melatonin can also make you more susceptible to having nightmares, especially if you're in a rough mental state. These dreams are also commonly longer because of the extended REM sleep cycle, as well as they are also more common for you to remember because, again, you're spending more time in this cycle. Tea break dreams. Now, for those of you that don't know what a tea break is, don't worry. I had no clue what it was. Luckily, the friend I was in Discord with definitely knew what it was. It is a break from a medicine or drug that allows your body to lose tolerance to it, also known as a tolerance break. This is done with all sorts of drugs, but from what I read, most of the time recreational drugs. What it does is it allows people to not need to take as much to get the same high that they are used to. A tolerance break can last anywhere from a day or two to months at a time, but for some reason it causes very odd dreams and often nightmares. I casually brought this up to a friend of mine who would have information about this much more than myself, and he informed me that yes, this is real, and that he has had very odd dreams when he is on some sort of break from drugs. drugs. Other people even recount recurring nightmares that only happen when on tolerance breaks, and that they stop doing tolerance breaks altogether because of these reoccurring nightmares. And these are completely inescapable to those people that are feeling them. Other people just experience odd and hallucinogenic states that are also just because of this, probably because of the chemicals that are different and changing in your brain as you lose tolerance to the drugs that you're used to, as well as people also become slightly confused towards the dreams when they wake up, and much more than normal. I know normally when you wake up from a dream you feel confused, but this is a much higher level of confusion. Technology almost never works in dreams. I'm not sure why, but many people seem to experience that technology either doesn't work or most of the time just doesn't show up or exist in dreams. This can be quite annoying or stressful when you're having a nightmare that and you're lucidly dreaming, and you have a solution for what you could do or get out of, but there's no way of actually following through with it because your technology in your dream isn't working. Some people theorize that this is due to technology being very logic-based and with no emotion, while dreams are quite the opposite. They contain almost all your emotions and memories packaged into a bizarre and sometimes terrifying little package. But for you or with your dreams, it's kind of hard for your brain to think about technology. But I don't know that those directly correlate because while you may not understand how technology works in dreams, you don't need to know how it works to experience using it. So like you could see a TV and you don't have to know how the electronics work. You could still watch the TV. Like your brain understands that. So I don't know. I don't understand why technology never works in dreams. But I did experience that people who are younger in my little Reddit study that I did, it seems that people who are younger don't have this. So maybe as technology creeps into our daily lives more, this will become less existent. Exploding head syndrome. That is a hell of a name for a sleep disorder, and one that I have alluded to a few times throughout the Iceberg. Exploding head syndrome is a phenomenon that is experienced as really loud noises, such as a gunshot, thunder, or another really very loud noise like a siren, as someone is falling asleep, and it occurs right next to their head or inside their head. It's not like it's far away, like it is right next to you. The odd part is these noises are not real, and they are actually auditory hallucinations, like the ones we talked about in the Parasomnias part of the Iceberg. While most of us can relate to the feeling of a hypnic jerk or sudden awakening while falling asleep, this is like that, but it's the idea of hearing a gunshot right next to my head as I'm trying to fall asleep. That would probably just keep me up for the entire night. I can deal with a little scary feeling like I'm falling for a few seconds, but hearing gunshots or a train going past my head in the middle of the night would just be a little much for me. But this is a thing that it's not necessarily understood why it happens, other than bursts of electrical signals that happen during NREM sleep that probably stimulate the hearing instead of the muscles, like what cause a hypnic jerk. And so other than that, though, there's not really a cure for it or any way to stop it. These people are just every once in a while when they're falling asleep, they'll just hear that. Hypnopompic hallucinations. These hallucinations are almost always an extension of a dream or a dreamlike state. However, these hallucinations occur when you are awake. These hallucinations can make a person experiencing them see, hear, and feel things that are not real, but that have to do with dreams that they either have had or were just having. The most common occurrence of this is seeing things while you are experiencing sleep paralysis, as you are awake, but you are still partially dreaming in this in-between state where you cannot move. People often refer to their sleep paralysis demon in memes about sleep paralysis, or seeing people walking around or shadow figures, and that is one of these hallucinations. You're awake, but you're not fully awake, and when you are, even if you were fully awake, you're still seeing things that are not there. The sleep paralysis hallucinations technically aren't one of these, but they are very that's the best way to explain it. The real hypnopompic hallucinations are pretty uncommon, and they can be experienced as people are waking up or going to sleep. So maybe sleep paralysis could be considered one, but sleep paralysis, you're still kind of asleep, you're not fully awake. But they can also happen after a long period of sleep deprivation, and these hallucinations can be caused by a lot of things, like medication, substance abuse, many other underlying conditions, but pretty much just causes you to see things out of the corner of your eye and all sorts of stuff like that, that just all sorts of stuff that you would see in your dreams, but you're seeing them as you kind of wake up and you're still in that dream state. Devil's Trill Sonata. Now, again, don't know what this has to do with dreams, but I took something away from it that I think does contribute to the Iceberg. So while I don't know that it necessarily belongs like some of the other stuff I took out of the Iceberg, it does have something to it that I want to talk about. So this is a classical song played on violin, and it's over a 16-minute long classical song, and it has parts of rising and falling action, and it pretty much just tells a story. But this entire song was made all because of the creator's dream. The creator of the song dreamed that the devil was playing the violin in front of him, almost violently, and that was an inspiration to him to make this song very fast-paced music. While this isn't related to sleep necessarily other than the dreaming part and other topics in the iceberg, I do think it has one important thing to take away, and that's how much these dreams, this dream world that we all have every night when we go to sleep, and these subliminal thoughts and things that we have can lead to real world creations and actually impact like media in the real world. Like this shows the impact that your dreams and stuff can have on creation in the real world. Like people have so many movies and songs are probably based off of people's dreams that they've had rather than experiences that they've had. And that's just an insane thing to think about, that something that your brain makes up can also inspire that same brain. Dream remote viewing. Now, when I first heard this, I thought it meant looking at people's dreams from like a machine, which is now possible. But that's not what this means. This is a practice or experience in which someone attempts to see, experience, or gain information about a place, person, or event, or maybe even just an object that is far away from the person and is something that they cannot see or actively learn about. This means that like the practice of using your own brain and dreams to see and learn about things that you may not be able to see or travel to right now. Okay, mine's slightly blown. That's a crazy concept. That one hurts my brain a little bit. While the information gained can't technically be proven to be correct, viewing things like this can give people or feelings about a subject or person using the facts and opinions that they already have known about that thing. So like you can kind of like use improvised like learning and like use your context clues to like learn about what a place would be like in your dreams. And again, like while that can't be technically proven, or while it's probably not the most realistic, it can give people a sense of confidence when walking into a situation that they would have otherwise been uncomfortable with. But yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily reliable, but is this iceberg telling me there's a chance that one day we might be able to experience things that we're nowhere near just by dreaming about them? Because that is a future right there. Paroxetine. This is an SSRI, which, if you don't know, is normally caused to treat symptoms of depression and anxiety. And it is pretty much something that helps. It's like a serotonin supplement for your brain. So it increases the amount of serotonin in the brain. However, many people taking SSRIs, especially paroxetine, have reported that it can cause very vivid and very scary dreams, sometimes resulting in actual night terrors, like way past the nightmare realm, where they're waking up and thinking that real things in their life are actually a threat to them. It is also said that this medicine specifically causes a reduction in people's ability to recall dreams that they have. However, when they do recall them, they are often very detailed and very vivid. They also contain a lot more emotional intensity than a regular dream or nightmare, and can be quite terrifying, as well as they actually may impact an individual's life more than a regular dream. Another thing that could add to this is these people in most cases are already somewhat struggling with their mental health. Whether it's extreme or not, they have medicine for it, and that, assuming that they're not abusing that medicine, they're having a mental struggle already. So the chance of them being in a vulnerable state of mind when falling asleep that would cause these nightmares or night terrors is much higher, in my opinion. These dreams can happen while on treatment or when you start to come off of treatment. And I feel like people experiencing them when coming off of treatment is probably related to like the tolerance break dreams, as it seems to me, like while researching both of those, that as your body fights to return to a natural state of not needing a medicine, it can cause some pretty intense dreams and sleep experiences. DPH dreams, also known as daytime, not even going to try and pronounce that one, but we get the idea. These dreams are short occurrences that occur while an individual is starting to fall asleep or transitioning into a sleep state, but not at a normal time. Like maybe you're at work or school and you start dozing off, or just any other time during the day where you wouldn't normally be sleeping and you're not really like trying to sleep, you're not in bed or something like that. These can almost be like hallucinations, but more in your mind like a dream. They're not like seeing things around you. It's more like you're having kind of a daydream. But these are experienced as vivid images, sounds, and feelings, and can make a person experiencing them feel disconnected from themselves for a brief moment. These dreams normally feel dissociative and dreamlike, but they are almost always reported as being good dreams, which is odd. The difference between these and daydreaming, though, is that these aren't caused by you thinking Like, you can't think about something and slowly slip into it. It's normally not caused by something you're thinking about. It's caused by the transition into the sleep state when you normally wouldn't be sleeping. And it's not, most of the time the dreams aren't related to what you were just thinking about, like a daydream would be. The MK Ultra experiments. This could be its own whole video. A set of absolutely insane and horrible human experiments conducted by the CIA. And these experiments were conducted to find more information about people, such as how to control them, or how to read their mind, make them more susceptible to giving up information, and even completely mind control them. They were using this on people like criminals and prisoners of war, and even sometimes just US and Canadian citizens, which is terrible. It's terrible even if they were criminals to be doing this stuff to them. This experiment consisted of so many forms of abuse, torture, and other forms of control and brainwashing, all to convince people to give up information or even complete control of their mind. Now, the main part I want to focus on today, though, because like I said, this could be its own whole video, is the psychoactive experiments. The CIA used a lot of drugs to try and make people speak up and try and get control over people's mind, and to make it easier to get information out of enemies that had been captured or criminals that had been arrested. One of the ones that would be the most related to sleep and dreams is they would dose people with extremely high doses of LSD, which, if you don't know, is a psychoactive formula and also sometimes called acid that makes people absolutely trip balls. And it happens for a long time and normally it shouldn't be taken, but if it is taken, it should not be taken in really high doses as it can cause terrifying experiences. Now, they also used other drugs, and all of this ultimately to try and find a mind control technique. And while it wasn't found that these drugs could mind control people, it did find that they could help interrogate people and make them give up information. But yeah, no means of full mind control. Now, like I said, we're not going to talk about how messed up this experiment was or any of that stuff, because that's not what this video is about. But I just can't imagine being forced into a torture and other things while on extremely high doses of drugs, and the type of PTSD that would cause an individual, especially how their dreams would be after that, and like how their dreams would be on those extremely high doses of drugs. That's the main part I wanted to focus on. Was some of the people that were in this explained that the dreams they had on these really high doses of drugs were insane. The stuff that humans will probably never feel again, and honestly, that might just be for the best that nobody goes through that again. Stilton Cheese. This one is short, but one I guess could actually be tried. Warning, don't, and if you do, the results are, while it is safe, I'm going to tell you don't, and that if you do, that the results are not my fault. I do not take responsibility for you trying it or any adverse side effects it may have. Now, Stilton cheese is a type of blue cheese. It's just one that you can buy. I looked at it's like $10 at my local store. It's not super expensive or anything crazy like that. It's made similar to other types of cheese. However, for some reason, because of the way that this one is made, it causes people to have very odd dreams that are realistic and vivid, but also hard to understand and that are just weird all over. People describe the dreams when they eat this cheese as something like they've never experienced before. Even people that have taken drugs and slept on them, this is just its own thing. Now, if anyone decides to try this, like I said, not my responsibility if you do, but please let me know in the comments if you have tried this or decide to eat Stilton cheese and then sleep. I kind of want to know what happens. Fever dreams. Just the thing that everyone wants when they're already feeling sick. A terrifying, weird, and unsettling dream. A fever dream is normally a quite unsettling dream that occurs when you are sick and, you have a fever. These dreams can cause you to be extremely uncomfortable afterwards and are easier, they stick with you for a long time. Normally dreams are forgotten about 30 minutes, but these ones stick with you. These are often also much more intense and involve a lot more emotion than regular dreams, and while the exact cause isn't known, it is theorized to be an effect of the cognitive processing that changes in your body while it's fighting off infection or viruses, as well as the internal processes and hormones in your body that change when you're fighting that kind of stuff. But yes, while you were already sick, your body is going to cause you to also have horrifying dreams that cause you to not be able to get the sleep that you need to help your body fix it. Sleeping on nutmeg. Now, nutmeg is a fairly common cooking spice that can be found at almost any store, and chances are you've probably consumed it. Nutmeg actually helps you sleep as it contains a compound that can have sedative properties and promote relaxation. I will say, unlike the cheese experiment, I actually already tried this one. And while making this video to see how it was and did it actually make a decent difference. And I'm pretty sure the impact of nutmeg depends on how much you consumed, but I consumed what I feel like is a healthy amount, and I did feel like I slept a lot harder that night, like a lot deeper sleep, didn't remember a single thing, and when I woke up, I kind of felt like I was in a different world. I also didn't wake up at all throughout the night, which is not normal for me, and I will say the only downside is that I slept through most of my alarms and almost did not get up when I needed to. Which is also not normal for me. So I assume I can contribute the credit of that to the nutmeg I ate the night before, as nothing like that has happened for previous months. So that's the only thing I can think that would have caused it. So it helps for great sleep and it helps people stay asleep, but just be prepared that if you need to get up early when that alarm goes off, you may not react normally or in any case at all. But if you are struggling to sleep or you feel like your sleep isn't that good, maybe it's something you should try. Again, not my responsibility if you're allergic to it or anything that happens to you while you do it, but do your research and figure it out. Maybe it's a good idea. The gray man, a manifestation or hallucination commonly seen during sleep paralysis or nightmares, or even night terrors. These figures are reportedly to have been seen by way too many people for it to be a coincidence. This is due to our brains probably trying to dream while we're having sleep paralysis because, well, you're not supposed to be awake and you're still dreaming, at least partially. And so these figures can always bring a sense of panic with them, and most people feel like they know in their minds that whatever they are looking at, whatever that gray figure is, the gray man is, has malicious intent towards them. So again, it's a commonly seen thing in sleep paralysis and nightmares, and I feel like it's more the mystery of it. But like I said, some people do report that what they are seeing, they feel has malicious intent on them. So it's such a scary concept that there is something not there looking at you, yet you still feel like it can hurt you. Shadow people. Now, this is very similar to the gray man, but shadow people are commonly seen in sleep paralysis, nightmares, and night terrors. However, these are often a little more terrifying and identifiable. See, while the gray man is kind of mysterious, this is much more like paranormal feeling and also just a little more terrifying. Instead of an outline or a possible figure of like a little gray thing, this is a definite shadow, again, with malicious intent and terrifying feelings they bring with them. Shadow people are also common hallucination when it comes to substance abuse like Benadryl, which again, don't do that things. But yes, things like the Hat Man, which is a man experience that people have seen when they do Benadryl recreationally, can be seen because of drug and substance abuse. So a combination of drug, substance abuse, and also like sleep deprivation can cause you to see these shadow figures, whether you're awake, asleep, or in a state of sleep paralysis where you're kind of riding the line, which is just terrifying to me. I mean, seeing like not even a person, just the shadow of a person is, no, keep that away from me. The Randy Gardner sleep deprivation experiment. Randy Gardner, at just 17 years old, stayed awake for 11 days, 24 minutes. And surprisingly, not much else happened than that. This was the Guinness World Record at the time, which the Guinness Book of World Records would later stop letting people do this because of the dangers of it. But he had some moodiness, some cognitive drop off towards the end of the experiment. Like they asked him to, I think it was count backwards from like 70 or something like that. And like partway through he stopped, and then they asked him why he stopped. He said he forgot what he was doing. So he was losing it a little bit. He was losing his like cognitive ability a little bit. But other than that, after a few long sleep nights, he went back to a normal sleep schedule in a few days. There were also minor hallucinations reported, but yeah, he stayed up for 11 days without extreme adverse side effects. Now, later in life, he did start experiencing extreme insomnia, but that's decades later. So even though he was blaming it on the sleep experiment, who even knows if that's what it was caused by or if it was completely unrelated. Do not do that. Also, by the way, do not sleep for 11 days, but it can technically happen. Peripheral vision hallucinations. These can be caused by a number of things and can be experienced in a number of different ways, but they all culminate in seeing things just on the edge of your vision, and they're often very frightening or unsettling. Now, this can be caused by sleep deprivation, medication, and even just your brain trying to fill areas that it can't see clearly, but this is where some people start to see hallucinations like the gray man and shadow people. Like you turn your head and you feel like you see something like constantly just barely out of your vision. It's just a terrifying thing because you know that thing can see you and you can't see it, and you also know that it's just there there enough for you to tell it's there, which honestly, I'd rather just not know it's there if it's going to hurt me. But yeah, these types of hallucinations can be really alarming and also cause a lot of paranoia, especially if it's caused by sleep deprivation or medication. Fatal insomnia. This is exactly what it sounds like, but it's just sad and kind of crazy. Along with a lot of other negative cognitive effects, as well as physical effects, fatal insomnia is an incurable and not understood condition where someone has chronic insomnia, but it slowly gets worse throughout their lives until it actually causes them to die either from not sleeping, or as their body starts to drop off and gets less healthy from not sleeping, they die of something else. But the idea of just being born with the ability to not sleep is terrible, and it's got to be it's got to be completely torturous to those individuals who just want to sleep and cannot. Nightmare death, also known as sudden unexplained nocturnal death syndrome. Sounds terrific. This is a rare genetic condition that can cause your body to not be able to properly coordinate communication via electrical signals. Now, this is normally from the brain to the heart, and these deaths are suspected to be caused by Brugada syndrome, which is a genetic heart condition. So why have you never heard of it? Or if you have heard of it, like I definitely hadn't, but most of you probably have never heard of it. Well, this is a genetic disorder primarily seen in Southeast Asia, and for me, I'm stupid and American, so I've never heard of it before. These countries like Japan and the Philippines are much more knowing of what this kind of death is, and it's just an unfortunate disorder that normally happens when a person is a teenager or young adult. Their heart just stops beating in their sleep, but some people used to think that it was also caused by nightmares. So that's a terrifying thing. You can just be born predetermined to die in your sleep and with no control over it. The Incubus Demon. Folklore states that the Incubus Demon is said to appear in human form and do horrific things to sleeping women. If you want more info, do it yourself, because YouTube bot is not going to like the rest of what it does, or more detail of what it does. But the Incubus Demon, or incubi, are said to be able to cause nightmares, sleep paralysis, or even kill people while they're sleeping, as well as, like I said, do terrible things to people while they're asleep. While it can take human form, it is often depicted as a human-like creature that has wings and sometimes horns. Yeah, that can stay far away from me while I'm sleeping. That can stay as far away from me as it possibly can while I'm sleeping. I do not want that thing anywhere near me. Kleine-Levin Syndrome. Now, this is caused by brain injury, infection, or can be a genetic disorder, and it's a rare neurological disorder that causes episodes of excessive sleep or other cognitive and behavioral changes. Sleep periods reaching up to 20 hours a day for certain episodes of it, and these episodes can last for anywhere for a few days to a few months of sleeping 20 hours a day plus, which means you're awake for like 2 to 3 hours a day. And those 2 to 3 hours are probably not that great. Apart from this, the disorder can also cause extreme and odd mood changes, as well as delirium and hallucinations. So those couple hours that the person experiencing this is awake is plagued by very odd mood changes and delirium, which is, again, a torturous state of being that I do not wish upon anybody. Pattern recognition, suppression in dreams. People commonly say that weird things happen in dreams, like feeling like your face is melting, or seeing things floating, or people that you can't quite see their faces or make out what they are. This is because of the brain's inability to recognize common patterns in everyday life during a dream. As mentioned earlier, dreams are almost wholly emotional and not logical, which means you're missing that pattern recognition side, that thing that helps you determine whether something should be or shouldn't be like that. Now, things that, if you saw some of these things in real life when you were fully awake, it would cause extreme distress. If you looked in the mirror and your face was melting or you looked like a different person, it would be very distressing. But some of these aren't even possible for real life. They just show up in dreams. But when they do, your brain just for some reason doesn't even notice. Or when it does notice, it just thinks it's weird or a little bit scary, but you have a much less extreme reaction than you normally would to these very odd occurrences. This is why a lot of times people wake up from a dream and think, wow, that was a weird dream, but you don't commonly think it's weird when you're in the dream. And it's also why people who do have pattern recognition can lucidly dream, because as soon as you have pattern recognition in a dream, like, you can be like, oh, okay, I'm obviously dreaming, like there's a car floating, or there's something happening that would not happen. So if for those that do have pattern recognition in dreams, that's normally what causes lucid dreaming, or can help people lucid dream. Nicotine patches dreams. Nicotine patches are mostly known to try and help people to stop smoking or vaping and to quit nicotine use completely. However, it seems that they come with some unforeseen side effects, especially when it comes to sleep. Nicotine patches cause more vivid dreams and more visual imagery, as well as very abnormal dreams that you wouldn't have without these. Sleep fragmentation is also possible from this, and sleep fragmentation is very short, disturbing episodes that essentially just disrupt your sleep in a lot of different ways, almost like a parasomnia, but not one that's happening all the time, one that's just happening like when you have these patches on. And this only really happens to people when they're sleeping with nicotine patches on. So the number one solution to stop these disturbances and these weird dreams is to stop sleeping with the patches on, take them off before you go to bed, and put them back on when you're waking up. That's probably, and the reason that these are probably causing that is because of such a different way of absorption, a quick way of absorption into the skin. Is probably just causing, again, a chemical imbalance that's just causing your brain to do weird things while you're asleep. Astral travel dreams. These dreams involve traveling the universe as an out-of-body experience. While mostly common with hallucinogenic drugs as well, but it's also possible to just dream about it without being under the influence of anything. These dreams can feel both very surreal and odd, but also convincing that you actually felt it. And as a space nerd, the idea of flying through the universe and getting to see things like planets of our solar system sounds amazing, but sadly I've never had or experienced one of these dreams. And these dreams are almost kind of like the remote viewing, but you're remote viewing parts of the galaxy or stuff very far away, or even things that your brain has made up, but in a very vivid way that allows you to feel like you are actually looking at it. Childhood memory dreams. Again, these sound like completely normal things that people experience. However, they can be a little different and more intense than normal dreams. Memories that you make as a child often shape the future of your goals and your aspirations and what you want to do and how you feel about certain things, as well as what you want for fulfillment in life. Now, as that changes that will change throughout your life, but those things that made those in the first place, that little kid in there is still in there somewhere. And so that being said, certain memories from childhood that do shape your future and how you feel about things make you feel a little bit more intensely about certain emotions. And they're also a little more meaningful than regular memories. And it's also common for these dreams to feel just a little bit more intense, almost as if you're experiencing them as a kid, a little bit stronger emotions. Overall, these dreams aren't uncommon, but depending on how much you think about your past, these dreams can range from happening every night to happening just every once in a while. But either way, it's not uncommon. They can just be a little bit stronger, and they can help you remember things about your past. PTSD nightmares. These nightmares can be extremely alarming and cause a sense of panic or other terrifying feelings like loss and sadness, and much stronger feelings than almost any other type of dream could. PTSD is mostly seen in people who have had one or more events that stress the body and mind to a level not seen in most people's lives. Whether it be a war veteran or an active combat veteran or someone who has struggled with their mental health terribly or have had terrible things happen in their lives, PTSD comes from very traumatic moments of their lives. And these dreams can cause them to relive them or relive similar ones that they have never experienced, and just terrify them with this concept that their brain is already having troubles with. And it can happen every night to some of these people, or even multiple times a night, which again, just not something I'd want to wish upon anybody, but these are probably the most terrifying set of dreams that you can have. And on to the bottom of the iceberg. Trapped in a dream. Now, things like false awakening can lead to many layers of a dream. Also, I mentioned this with Inception, where you're like waking up, but you feel like, like you're waking up and then you're still in a dream, and then you wake up again and you're still in a dream, and you wake up again and you're still in a dream, and you're experiencing these layers of dream that you're trapped in. It can almost feel like you've lived through multiple days while you were still asleep. But what if you got stuck in that an infinite loop of dreams? And even worse, what if you were lucid, like you understand, you're completely aware that you're dreaming, and that you're completely aware that you are stuck and can't get out of it. You can remember each dream and waking up from it, and you're still aware that you are not awake. You can't get out. I mean, what would you do? How would you get out of this? Even if the dream you were stuck in is good, this still may be one of your worst nightmares possible for most people. You can't get out of it. You are literally stuck. Like I said, even if it's an okay dream, it's not bad, it's not terrifying, it's still not going to be fun. And if it is terrifying, that brings a whole different level of messed up to this. Al Herpin, the man who never slept, yet stayed in perfect health. This man claimed to go his whole life without sleep, and he lived for 94 years. He claimed that he just simply rested. Medical professionals now state, though, that every human sleeps whether they are aware of it or not, and that this may have just been some sort of claim for attention. And if this claim was true, he would be the only person with hyperinsomnia to live that long without treatment. But with my personal thing, him saying he just rested, I feel like he definitely slept and just wanted something from that. BZ drug, also known as benzodiazepine. This drug is another sleep medicine used by some people as regularly as melatonin. However, there are a lot of problems and long-lasting effects. The first problem is that these are extremely addictive. Whether they're working for you or not, the actual chemical compound is very addictive to your body. And once a person has started this to treat their insomnia, especially if it's working, using this drug, if it's working and you're using this drug, it's common that stopping the treatment causes the insomnia to return, sometimes greater than what it was before, causing you to continue using them. So not only do you have this chemical effect that's keeping you doing these, but also you have this mental effect of, well, it was working and now my life is worse when I stop it. So it just causes, it's this endless vicious cycle of trying to use these. At the beginning of this cycle, some people start to need this drug to even feel normal in the first place, to get any amount of sleep or to even feel rested at all, and to even have a bit of useful sleep, like anything that's actually restful to them. The downside of this is long-term use can lead to significant cognitive decline and even dementia in later stages of life. So stay away from these drugs if you can help it. Dream spying. I was able to find two meanings for this, both fairly interesting, so I'm going to go over both of them as it's the last topic of the iceberg. The first one is similar to remote viewing. However, this is a targeted attempt to gain information about someone while you're asleep. So like spying on somebody you don't like while you're asleep intentionally through your dreams. Now, being able to spy on them using your dreams, is this possible? Probably not, but it's still an idea that'll make you think that will it one day be possible? Like if humans have brain chips and interconnection into the internet, will there be a way to almost hack into somebody using their dreams or your dreams to where you can see what they're thinking about? Terrifying concept, but again, also kind of in a weird way cool. The idea of being able to see things from far away. Again, probably not possible, but if it was, it's just another thing to think about. Now, the next thing I found for this topic is people being able to spy on your dream while you're asleep. There are companies that are now developing machines that can scan your brain while you are asleep and play them back to you while you're awake and allow you to watch them and fully comprehend them with a logical and sound emotional mind. This, however, could be used on people like prisoners of war or criminals to get information about a case or strategy and see what this person may have committed without them even knowing or having control over this sleep effect. And that is the bottom of the iceberg. If you guys have any insane sleep stories, have experienced any of these things, or have anything that you think I have missed, please let me know, and please let me know what you think of the video. This is my first one doing a video like this. So, yeah, if you guys enjoyed, I'm really trying to make it to 15,000 subs. It would mean a lot to me if you could help me get there. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do truly hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.